Today we're excited to announce the new work order API for Closed Caption Creator. This allows anyone to be able to use Closed Caption Creator to edit captions inside an existing workflow or inside of an existing product even. In the past, if you wanted to, add a closed caption editor to your product, you'd either have to go out and buy something, or you'd have to go out and actually build it yourself, which takes considerable resources. With our new work order API, you can create a link that links to closedcaptioncreator.com, and it will open up projects inside of Closed Caption Creator and allow you to publish back caption files to your server, depending on what you need. So today we're going to jump in and I'm going to walk through the API structure, which we call our work order JSON here. And this is what you'll be building or constructing inside your product in order to integrate. Now, before I go any further, most of the videos we do on this channel are about creating captions or translating media or creating audio descriptions. This video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit more technical, and it's more geared towards maybe product managers or developers themselves who have to, build captioning into a product. So this, if you're a captioner, this might not be the video for you unless you're a little bit more technical. And we're just going to focus on basically the JSON structure for the work order descriptions. And then we're going to build a quick HTML page with a link that opens up a project inside of Closed Caption Creator. So let's jump in and we'll just kind of dissect the work order JSON and to start. So with the work order, you kind of have two options. So we provide what's called a task property, and the task property at the top here basically allows you to say, hey, this is an edit project or it's a review project. If it's an edit project, basically the user who opens up the link will have access to everything. They'll be able to edit, they'll be able to change metadata, they'll be able to insert speakers. It gives them kind of full reign of the project. If you change this to review, it's going to allow them to make changes to the project, but only to the metadata, right? And only to the event groups that you say they can. And then it'll allow us to basically publish back a report saying these are the changes or these are the notes that the reviewer made. By default, we kind of treat every single work order as an edit work order, but that's important to note the difference. Underneath that, we have basic information that we use for generating the project. So for example, we have a project name, which will show up at the top of the toolbar. We have a project encode, right? So if you're working with projects with caption files, for example, that have a 1 hour offset if you work in broadcast, or 10 hours, you can include a project encode. You can include the frame rate, right? By default, everything coming into Closed Caption Creator is treated as 24 frame. So if you want that to be anything different, we offer different frame rates. So 2997, 5994, 2398. Those can all be included here, along with the optional drop frame flag for frame rates of like 2997. So for drop frame 30. Underneath that, we basically have the media properties. So the media properties are made up of the thumbnail URL, which is optional. And so that allows you to kind of have a thumbnail that loads along with the page. We have the media URL. So the media URL can be like an MP4 that lives in a bucket somewhere. Keep in mind, if you are using, Amazon buckets, S3 buckets, you're going to want to make sure you configure them for cores. So that way, when they open up in Closed Caption Creator, we're able to actually stream that file. The next property is basically the media type, right? So because we support different types of media, so technically speaking, this could be a YouTube file, right? A YouTube link. This could be a Vimeo link. You have to tell us what that media type is or what the source is. So if it's file, YouTube, Vimeo, HLS stream even, you can basically include that here. If you want a complete breakdown of all the different options, you can go to our website as well. Every single property that I'm talking about here, we basically will have a description for on our website that explains kind of what the options are for you and what that does. The next thing I want to jump into is what we're calling our event group tracks, right? So event group tracks are basically going to show up as separate tabs. And this allows you to basically import not just, one subtitle file, right? Or one language. You can import as many tracks as you want into a project. So by default, all the tracks are subtitle tracks, but you might have transcript tracks, you might have audio description tracks. There's going to be different statuses, so whether you want this to be published or not published. So you can add a status to it. You can add a display name that'll show up in the UI. So we can call this English subtitles because it's a subtitle track. You provide the language to us. You provide the right to left property. So if you're working with English, you would set this to false. If you're working with languages like Arabic, you might want to set this to true. The next group of properties are what we're calling our real-time error detection properties. And these basically will set up the track or the event group. So that way we flag different errors to the user. So for example, we have reading rate. So max CPS or characters per second. If an event inside a track goes above 20, the user will be notified by a little red symbol that will show up. Same goes for things like the maximum number of characters in a line. So max cars here is basically set to 32 and max lines is set to 2, meaning that any subtitle event inside this track, if it goes above 32 characters in a line or more than 2 lines in a block, will alert the user so that way they know that they need to change something and make a change. We'll also run the same check when we do the export at the end or the publish back to your server. So that's something to keep in mind here. And these can all be customized. These can be changed per track. So again, you can have multiple tracks inside of one project. Next, we have the import options. Okay, the import options are basically, they tell us where to get the track information from or where the content for the track comes from. In this example, I'm loading an SCC file or a CNRS file. I'm telling us to use the profile to decode this. We're using the CNRS profile to decode this SCC. If this was an SRT file, you would set this to subrip, right? So you do something like this. And again, all the supported profiles are on our website, right? So you can do that all there. We support over 35 different profiles, including VTT, MCC, SCC, obviously, STL, the list goes on, right? And then the next thing has to do with our frame rate and drop frame options. So again, we have to import this caption file into a project. The project itself is configured to be 2997, so I showed that up here. But sometimes you might have mixed frame rate. So you might have a caption file that was done at 24 that you want imported in as 24 into a 2997 project. So we allow you to differentiate between the two here. Most of the time, we hope the frame rates match, right? So the project frame rate matches the track frame rate. So you can see that here. So frame rate 2997. And the last part of the track is the publish options, right? So we provide two spots where you can add publish options. You can have publish options at the track level, meaning that you can be really specific in terms of how this track gets published back to the server. In this case, we're going to be posting to this pretend URL here, an SCC file, right? So that'll be an HTTP post. If you don't want to include individual publish options, you can actually include general publish options at the bottom here. So we'll publish every single file or every single track using this default publish option down here if you include it. So example here, if you're gonna publish every single track as an SCC file, you might as well just have a general publish option here where we basically just publish back an SCC file with these options here. So basic auth, frame rate, drop frame, other options as well if you need them. And keep in mind, if you're not sure what some of these properties do, again, you go to our website and we'll explain what each property does. And if you still have questions, you can sit down with one of our developers and they'll walk you through kind of setting up your first work order description to make this work for you, which is pretty great. Awesome. So now that we've gone through the track, I'm just going to close I'm going to hide the track information. I'm going to go down to some of the custom alerts. So these custom alerts are basically UI alerts that show up in the UI depending on specific hooks. So for example, when the work order gets loaded, we're going to show you the import alert status. So work order import has been imported successfully, right? So you can change this if you want to anything you want, right? So you can put instructions in here if you wanted to, or you can just leave it the way it is, or you can choose not to include it at all. That's an option as well. We also have import alert errors. So if the work order fails to import, you can basically include a custom message that says, please go back, right? This work order failed to import correctly. there was an error. And then we also have the same thing for on the publish side. So once the work order has been imported and gets worked on, when the user is ready to publish back to the server, they can go through and you have publish success and publish error. So if there's an error on the publish, you can basically show one message. If it's successful, you can show a different message, and that's pretty great. And then as well in the publish modal, so we have a custom modal that we use for publishing. You can actually include a message to the user as well. So if there's specific instructions on how you want them to publish, you can put all that information down here. So for example, if you want them to rename event groups, you can basically include that here. And then when the user goes to publish, they have that option to make those changes. And finally, we just have a redirect URL. So once we finish the publish and they hit OK and everything's great, we'll push them back to a new page, right? So you can have them go directly back to your server, right? Or a general page, or you can just have it navigate to an empty tab if you want to. So that's all options here. Now that we've gone through each option inside the work order description, we're going to build a quick web page that uses the work order description to open up a project inside Closed Caption Creator. So what I'll do is I'll basically just use Copilot here and tell it to create a HTML boilerplate. Perfect. And then inside the body tab, I love GitHub Copilot. I'm just going to tell Copilot to create a thumbnail with a link that says edit captions, right? And then so if I hit enter there, perfect. It creates a little link for me. And then obviously obviously that's wrong, but we're going to come back to that. And then basically we can put in our information here. So if I hit save here, I'm going to open up the terminal here, and you'll notice that I have our web server already running. So if I jump back over to our website here and I refresh, you'll see our little picture here of a cat. And if I click on that, it should open up the link. So I'm going to go back to our website here. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to make this our work order description. So in order to create the work order description, we're going to go to, so we'll have it open up in a blank tab first off. Perfect. And then in terms of the actual link or the location that we're going to https://app.closedcaptioncreator.com/work order, right? And then we'll do description equals. So question mark description equals, and then this is where our work order description is going to go. Now you'll notice that I'm just using the public hosted version of Closed Caption Creator. We do have self-hosted versions that are available for enterprise customers. So that's a little bit different. But in general, most of our customers are going to be using this public URL here. So app.closedcaptioncreator.com/work order, and then we'll include the description. Now the work order description has to be URL encoded, meaning that I'm going to take all of this, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go to a web page online here that basically allows me to paste in my JSON and then encode it for there you go, perfect. So it's HTML encoded or URL encoded. So I can copy this to my clipboard, come back to my HTML page, and I can paste that in here and hit save. And you'll notice right away, if I come back to the page, I'll close out of Closed Caption Creator, and I'll come here to my, my mini work order demo. And if I click on this image now, you'll notice it opens up a new tab with Closed Caption Creator, and you'll see right off the bat, the work order has been imported successfully. And I know that because we're seeing the work order success message. So again, if I go back to our work order, you'll see here, import alert success. The work order was imported successfully, right? And I can hit OK. And you'll notice right away on the left here, I have my thumbnail. I have my video, which plays back. I have all my captions. So you can see those here. This was an SCC file, so there's a few blank events here that come in with the SCC. So what I can do is I can go edit, remove empty events. So that way I can just see the blank events here. And now I'm ready to kind of make my edits and make my changes. So if I go in here, I can auto format these events if I want to, right? So they look a little bit nicer. Oh, let me do that one more time. Auto format custom, and I'll turn smart select off. So that way everything gets formatted. Perfect. And then on the publish side, I basically have this really cool publish button here. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a server set up, But if you go back to the work order, you'll notice that our publish, so if I open up tracks, our publish was going back to HTTPS, HTTPin, anything. So here you can actually see our custom work order publish, and you can tell it the status of the, of the actual event group. So whether you want it to publish or not. By default, we've set this to do not publish. So if I go back to the track, you'll notice here, if I look at the status of this track, near the top here, we had do not publish. But in this case, I can always change this to publish. And remember, you can also put instructions here. So please leave this window open while publishing, right? These are the instructions that we left in the publish message down here. So publish text. So please leave this window open while publishing. That's the same text that's showing up in the UI. So you have a lot of power here in terms of how you want the UI to show what messaging you want. So I can come in here, I can hit publish. It's asking me for a username and a password. And again, the reason for that is because I have auth set to true, right? So this allows me to basically put in, a username, password, and then that will get passed along with the publish, with the post message. So that way you can authenticate the basic auth on the server side. Awesome. And once the work order has been published successfully, right? So we get a success back. We say work order published success. I hit OK. It's going to basically redirect me to another page, right? So here you'll notice that my redirect URL in this case was to 1270.0.1.8000. You can change that to whatever server URL you want, and it'll basically push the user back to that page, which is pretty great. So hopefully this entire tutorial has been helpful to you in terms of getting started with the work order API. We're really excited in terms of what this unlocks for you. So if you're someone who's thinking of building their own closed caption editor, it might just be easier to use the work order API and basically integrate Closed Caption Creator into your existing product. If you want to have more of a in-depth conversation about any of this, or you need any custom features added, you can always reach out to our sales and support team. We can set up a quick call and go over anything with you. And we're more than happy to help you get started and walk you through, creating your own work order description. Thanks so much.